a barrier to his learning. He can't get onto the next center because he's just trying to cut out the freaking words.
Yeah, and he gets frustrated because we have a little boy in our class, well, in my daycare, it's not a class, a daycare class, that holds his pencils like a pencil when he draws, he goes like this. And then when he writes, he goes like this. And so we have kind of like a pencil that kind of helps him. And so he's now getting at a point, which is nice, that he's kind of calming himself down and he can do it. Because last time he got really upset and kind of got mad at us as teachers when we're like, okay, just try, you know? He's like, no, I don't want to. And he just gets frustrated. So now he's at a point where he wrote his name. Yay! I was so excited I saw him the first time. And he has a confidence now. And so I'm glad that whoever helped him with it kind of, did what they needed to do with him. And now he's learned, likes to write.
That's
So,
so cool.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
crazy how like small changes like that can make such a big difference for kids. Like just like the small thing of like someone taking the time and like the patience to like work with him on it. Then he has like all the confidence and he can like do it, and it's so rewarding to see him like succeed.
I really liked at the beginning of the reading it said that it shifted from being curriculum centered like learning to student centered learning. And I think that that's something like thinking about like my education like in high school and stuff, and like thinking about like what I'm learning now as an educator, like a lot of the time it was curriculum based, like no, this is the material you need to learn and you have to learn it this way, and if you don't learn it you're wrong, instead of looking at it as okay, maybe me as the teacher, maybe I'm doing something wrong that is hindering this child from understanding, or like maybe this child needs some sort of, you know, like needs something else. And like what I was kind of talking with my mom is a education professor, and so I was like reading this at her house this weekend and like kind of processing out loud with her as I was reading it, asking her some questions, and I was like, Mom, like UDL guidelines, like they sound a lot like just like naturally doing special ed in the general ed classroom. Like you're just like naturally providing like accommodations that the students need so that they can learn in the way that they need to. Like it's pretty
Yeah.
much just like doing special ed in the gen ed classroom.
Yeah, I think I really liked when they talked about like different assessments and how like just because a kid can't do well on a test doesn't mean that they're not learning and they don't know the information.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I've always been a really strong test taker, so I never like thought about that. I was like, well, if I know the information, like I'll do well on a test. But like especially in college, like there's been people that I've talked to that are like, I know everything, like I study so hard, and then I get in the test and like I can't answer these multiple choice questions. Like it's just not how
Yeah.
I can express what I've learned. So like the idea of knowing your students and knowing like, okay, well, like this student might do really well on a test. Like for a student like me, like I would succeed on a test, and like that's how I want to show that I learned it. But then like for a lot of students, like even one of the teachers said like, oh, like you can just like have them draw a picture and like explain to me like what they've learned, and like they're proving that they've learned the exact same content. It's just in a different way.
Mm-hmm. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I did struggle throughout. That's the huge thing that I learned from this. I'm excited that people are noticing test taking is not a strong suit for everybody because I struggle a lot. And so I had like a 5 or 4 plan, which is back then. It's
Mm-hmm.
different now. But it's pretty much it got extended like another hour on a test, or I take a test in a more quieter environment because I just get in my mind I'm like kind of hyperventilating like, oh my gosh, everyone's like leaving and I'm not smart because everyone is leaving and like it's super easy, it only took them 2 minutes, I'm like here for an hour, what am I doing? And then also a teacher was nice also to accommodate like for multiple choice. Besides now in college I know it's like 5 multiple choice or 4, they put me down to 3. So I feel like that's an accommodation that helps me. Like I know the information. It's just that how to accommodate it could be like less wording. So it gets to the point, you know what I mean, I guess, for on test taking for me when I only had 3 multiple choice besides 4 or 5, what most people have. I don't know. I mean, that could be that, which I liked, is just accommodating for test takers with more simplizing the question and simplizing the what you will get right in multiple choice. So
Yeah, and like that's not even like really that much work or like that much effort on the teacher's end to change that for you, and it can like totally change the way that a kid can perform on a test.
yeah. By the
That's
way,
so
keep that.
Yeah, thank you. She's really needy. If she hears me talking, she was like, "Oh, you're talking to somebody that's not me." Like, I gotta sit in class.
Is it a kitten?
Yeah, she's like almost a year old. Her name's Dandelion.
Cute. Antigone, I didn't mean to
Um,
interrupt.
no, you're fine. I was trying to process what I was thinking. Oh, um, this reminded me, Allison, of what we talked about in 340 today about like self-efficacy, and I feel like the UDL guidelines go so much. Like I was thinking about this during that class because I was just like, they pretty much how closely they rely, like just you changing from, being, oh, like you, the student, are wrong because you don't understand this, to, oh, the way that I'm approaching this and the way that I'm, as an educator, like representing this to you, that's what's wrong. Like that completely can change the way the child views themselves. And that's something that's going to go along with them their whole life. I mean, if they're in third grade and they're not understanding, or if they're not understanding math, and the teacher's going, well, like it's a you problem, not a me problem, then that kid's going to grow up thinking, I can't do it, I'm not smart enough, and their entire educational career is going to fall on top of that.
Yeah, I
totally.
think teachers need to realize like how much power is in what they say. Like if for you to like ever say to a kid like, well, you're not learning this because you're not working hard enough, or you're not, like, maybe like you need to choose a different like subject or major because like obviously this isn't for you, like that's so powerful. And I feel like teachers just like write it off like, oh, whatever, like they'll figure it out. It's like you can like that can stick with them for so long, for like their whole life really. Like they could be like in their career someday and be like, oh, like I'm not good at math, like I can't do it, just because one teacher said it to them.
Yep. I had my physics teacher in high school. God, he was terrible. But he would, like, if people asked a question, like if like sometimes he would answer it, but there was this one time when he looked at this kid and went, that's a stupid question. Please do not ask something like that again in my class.
That's so rude.
And I like was, first of all, I'm an idiot when it comes to science. And so I was confused. I wanted to know the answer to that question. And I didn't ask anything the rest of that class because, well, I did. I wasn't asked to him. I was a terrible, terrible student in that class. But only because I was so angry, because I was like, are you kidding? You just told someone that their question was stupid. Like, that kid didn't speak the rest of the semester.
Aww.
And I was like, he literally just didn't understand something, and you probably made him now get bad grades on tests because he didn't get clarification that he needed because you told him he was stupid.
That's crazy. I can't believe anybody would say that.
Oh, I was literally, after that, I was so mean to him. Like I'm generally a fairly good student, and I was like, I would rip him apart in class because I was like, you do not, like, I grew up with like a family of educators. You do not tell a student that their question is stupid. You're stupid.
Right? That's not a,
Teach.
Yeah, like, bro, maybe just like quit your job then.
right? You're like, this is not the field for you.
Honestly, because like last time I checked, inquiry and education kind of go hand in hand.
It's kind of an important part of the process, honey.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Oh,
Oh, and then I would like watch the videos like throughout the reading, and there was like when the male teacher was talking about how he, like, instead of thinking about like, oh, like I gotta hit on all these standards and like follow this curriculum, like started thinking about like, okay, like what do I want the students to learn? And so like starting from like the end point and working your way backwards. So being like, okay, like where do I want them to be? Like, what do I want them to be able to do? What do I want them to know? And then like, what are the different pathways we can take to get there? Like, I thought that was really cool because I feel like a lot of times it's just like whatever the teacher decides like is the pathway. Like that's just what you're gonna do.
yeah.
And so like opening it up and being like, okay, like this is what we're gonna learn. Like, how do you guys want to tackle this? Is so to empower your students is just like a really neat idea that I haven't seen before.
Cool. It's like almost freaks me out, like learning this stuff because, thinking, okay, I'm going into education. Like I have this idea of, okay, like this is how I'm going to do like lessons and stuff like that. And like getting into this and realizing, no, you can't really just tell your students, like you can't just lecture about something and then do like example problems and have them understand it. Like you have to give them multiple ways to understand, like multiple mediums to understand it, to explain it, like, which freaks me out as like a future educator, especially someone going into special ed, because I'm like, I can't, like, they're not cookie cutter kids. Like I can't just give them this way and expect them to all understand. I literally have to basically teach a lesson three different ways,
Mm-hmm.
which is
Yeah, like
terrifying.
you have such a deep understanding of something to be able to teach it like that many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I
it is definitely,
don't.
I feel like that makes you a better teacher, though. I'm glad that we have, I think, just like all three of us, be teachers, being in the field, we have more definitely with this UDL that we know about. Now we know that we can be better teachers, and
Yeah.
but it is going to be definitely hard. I think that's going to be a challenge for sure. That when you guys get closer, as with you, that it's going to be a challenge, but I think it will be a good challenge because that helps us think even smarter too. Because we're like, what? We didn't know about that. What? And this is
Yeah.
like simple stuff.
Oh yeah. It's interesting to like, because now that I kind of like have this teacher mindset, it's interesting to watch my professors and stuff, especially my education professors, because they do that. And like I sat in on one of my mom's classes, um, which was cool because like I was like watching like the way that she does it and like how like naturally these things are incorporated in like teachers that know how to do this well. And I'm like, wow, I didn't even realize that you were following these guidelines and you do it so naturally because you have me do it with my hands, you have me do it on a worksheet, and then you show me an example of it. I'm like, what? Like, how did you do that?
I think it comes back to that whole like we were talking about. I don't remember if it was last time or the time before. How like good practice is good practice. Like even though these are like labeled as UDL, like good teachers are doing it without realizing that it is UDL. Like you're
Yeah.
doing these things and providing these opportunities just like naturally because you have learned, like especially I think like really like seasoned teachers have learned that like they can't just provide one lesson and think that that's gonna like stick with every student and they're just like good to go and move on.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I think that especially like you said, Jade, once you get to like know your students and like you understand like what they need, like you do it naturally because it's like, oh, I know that Joe Schmo needs it to be he needs, it to be virtual to understand it. And I know that Lucy over here needs it on paper and pen. And so I'm going to do it both of these ways so that both of these students do it, understand it. Like I think that once like you have that personal relationship with your kids and you understand what they need to learn, like you're naturally going to do it because you're like, this is what they need. So I'm just going to do it because I know that this is what they need.
Yeah, like you just become the teacher they need. Like I feel like it's overwhelming to try to like think of meeting the needs of kids we don't know yet. But I think once we're in it, like you get to know them, you're like, okay, well, like this would help them. Like I know how they learn. I know like where I want them to be and how to get them there. And so I think like it just seems a lot more daunting than it will be.
Yeah.
At least so.
Honestly, crossing my fingers.
Right.
How
Like,
big is classes that
swap
you
for a
at?
while.
How big of classes are you at taking right now in your like a teacher assisting or
Like, how many classes am I taking for the program right now?
or sorry, I'm like how many is in your class right now when you go do a teacher assistant at the school?
Um,
Teaching right now. Are you teaching right now or are you teacher assistant?
I like it's like field work for our 340 class, but then I work at that school too, and so like I do like the after school program, so like kind of work with them again. It's weird, but there's like 25 in that classroom.
Ooh, wow. That's a lot of kids.
Well, it's like yeah, it's probably like 25 kindergartners. Yeah,
Ooh.
which is rough, but like I'm already like I we do like calendar and stuff, and then I help with like centers and like already just being there for a couple of weeks, like I know that when this kid comes to my center, like they're not gonna finish the whole worksheet and this other kid is.
Yeah.
And if that person just freaking writes their name, I'm gonna celebrate it and put it in their backpack to show their mom. Like like I've barely been in that classroom and I already am like learning these kids enough to understand like their like what is an accomplishment to them and what like how much assistance they need from me and like what they need from me. And if this person needs to write in a marker instead of a pencil to do the sheet, okay, write in a marker instead of a pencil. I don't really care. Just write your words, which
Well,
that's
what
cool.
kind of centers? What kind of centers do you do at your like what?
Like I always end up doing the same one because that's kind of how they do like they're her direct instruction, and so she's at like one center doing like direct instruction with like four kids. There's like a center of like computers, And then one of them is like a sentence scramble. So they like there's like a picture. They like cut out the words and like glue them in the right thing. And then I usually have one that's like they have like a sentence in front of them and they just like rewrite the sentence and draw a picture, or I'll have a worksheet that kind of goes along with the direct instruction that she just did. And so something like that, something to just kind of reiterate what they like learned the day before usually.
Okay. I was just asking because at my daycare, I kind of before I went into it, from CSI that I did, we did do centers. We had to have five different teaching, well, five different stations. So we
Mm-hmm.
had a sensory, we had to have a sensory, an outdoor, what was it, a math, a science, something with building, introduction, and an ending. So we had to have those, but then we had to have like a like what you do, like kind of a topic of
Mm-hmm.
overall statement, what you want the child to learn. And so that was a hard thing first for me. I'm like, okay, what do I want all these kids kind of to incorporate with my lesson plan? Like, what's the topic going to be? Like, is it more like about building? Is it more about mathematics and matching? Is it more about
Yeah.
colors or shapes? And so, but I know we had to do sensory and an art thing too. So I was just wondering if you guys do that kind of stuff. And so,
That's really
but
cool. I
it was
like
a hard
that.
when I thought about it.
Yeah.
So, but
Um. Okay. So should we just like email her and be like, hey,
Yeah, I think I'll just send her an email. I guess
will you
probably
CC
each
it?
of us individually. I'll just yeah, I'll send it and CC both of you
Cool.
and just say like we had our meeting this evening and we went over the reading and each of our own individual contributions, but we weren't able to do a lesson plan because our group member number 2 was not.
Yeah, because our assignment is this the evaluation of her, isn't it? Okay.
Yeah, so I'll ask her. I'll probably say like, is there an alternate assignment or are we just not expected to complete it because we aren't able to?
Yeah.
and then I
Because I
guess you
don't
can ask her
not do
nicely,
it. And
yeah, nicely like, oh, is she dropped out or something? So we kind of know not to wait on her anymore if she dropped out.
Yeah.
Not
yeah,
to
I
be
mean,
rude, I
we
guess.
pretty much haven't been meeting.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, she knows what time it is every week. And if she was expecting to be part of it, then she would accept the invitation when I send it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's only so much we can do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Thing.
So I'll email her. I'll do it like right now and I'll CC you guys. And then that way when she responds, hopefully she'll respond to all of us. And if not, I'll forward it to you.
Cool. And then do you just want to tag the link onto the Google Doc?
Yeah, I
Okay.
gotcha.
I'm just gonna finish up the notes, and I'll be done in like the next like 5 minutes probably.
Okay, perfect.
Awesome.
Have a
I'll
good
see you
week.
guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye.